Let's jump right in. Number 7. The mental blockbuster mind. Ever fumble a tiny task and suddenly your brain kicks into overdrive, picturing you jobless, alone, and scavenging scraps like a raccoon in a back alley? Or maybe a friend takes a bit too long to reply to a message and your mind goes, "They hate me," or worse, "They've probably been kidnapped by aliens." That's not just overthinking. That's your brain writing full-on disaster scripts, starring you as the lead. Every minor bump in life gets inflated like a balloon. But instead of fun animal shapes, you get a cinematic horror show in your head. This is known as catastrophic thinking. A mildly irritated tone in your boss's voice. A typical brain might shrug it off as they're probably stressed. But a catastrophizing brain, "Welp, I'm fired, broke, and my cat is going to start judging me more than usual." It feels like you're being responsible, like mentally prepping for every worst-case scenario is wise. But it's not preparation, it's survival mode imagination gone rogue. These mental disaster reels aren't based in reality, but they feel very real when they're playing non-stop in your head. People with this kind of thought pattern don't just worry they might flub a speech. They see themselves choking on stage, being laughed at, booted out of the building, and ending up arguing with pigeons over French fries. Here's the kicker. Research shows that the majority of these imagined catastrophes never happen. And when real setbacks do occur, we usually handle them far better than our disaster director brain predicted. Still, try explaining that to a mind convinced that a single typo is the first domino in the fall of your entire life. Number 6. Rejection rocket launch. Ever felt like someone mildly disagreeing with you was the emotional equivalent of a punch to the gut? Or that a casual glance from a friend suddenly made you feel like you've been exiled from the group forever? You might be dealing with something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, RSD for short. That's a fancy way of saying rejection hits like a meteor. This isn't about being sensitive. This is about experiencing deep, consuming emotional pain from even the idea of being rejected or criticized. It's like your internal siren starts wailing the moment someone doesn't smile back at you. People with RSD can go one of two routes. Some become master people pleasers, hyper-focused on doing everything just right, so no one has reason to criticize. Others might break down unexpectedly over what others see as minor slights, because their brain reads rejection at 100 decibels. And the wildest part? The rejection doesn't even have to be real. A late reply might trigger a spiral. A friend zoning out during a conversation might feel like betrayal. It's not drama. It's not weakness. It's a neurodivergent brain reacting like there's real danger. RSD is super common in people with ADHD, whose brains are already wired to feel things more intensely. Imagine quitting a perfectly good job after receiving one tough piece of feedback, or living in constant fear that your partner will leave you because of something you said last week. It's not insecurity, it's your brain setting off fireworks every time you sense disapproval. Number 5. Body habits that won't quit. Know someone who can't stop biting their nails during tense scenes in movies? Or maybe you find yourself picking at your skin while you think. You might chalk it up to nervous habits. But what if it's something more? Welcome to the world of body-focused repetitive behaviors, or BFRBs. Sounds technical, but it covers things millions of people do daily without realizing their brains behind the wheel. Let's talk nail biting. Sure, it's common, but when it crosses into obsessively biting until your fingertips bleed and you can't stop, it's more than a habit, or skin picking. We're not talking about squeezing the occasional pimple. We're talking hours in, front of a mirror, digging at clear skin, creating painful, lasting marks. Some wear long sleeves year-round just to hide the damage. Then there's hair pulling, trichotillomania. Some pull out strands one by one from their scalp, brows, or lashes until there are visible patches, not out of choice, not for style, but because their brain sends a signal that something must be fixed. Here's the strange thing. There's often a weird sense of relief during the behavior, like scratching an invisible itch. But afterward, shame, pain, guilt, and then it starts. All over again. Stress and anxiety often crank up these behaviors. It's as if the brain says, "I'm overwhelmed. Let's create a discomfort I can control." It's an emotional smoke alarm blaring when there's no fire, but the response is very real. Number 4. Living on ritual time. Some folks can't leave the house until they've tapped the doorknob exactly 3 times. Others line up their pens until they're perfectly parallel. You might think, that's quirky. But for some, it's far from harmless. These are control rituals, compulsive behaviors driven by OCD. And it's not about being tidy, it's about trying to silence a screaming sense of dread with repetition. Imagine your brain tells you, if you don't check the stove 10 times, your house will burn down. You know it's not logical, but your fear doesn't care. Some people wash their hands raw, not because they're dirty, but because a bad thought needs to be scrubbed away. Others reread the same line in a book dozens of times, scared they'll miss something important if they don't. A nightstand out of alignment, that could keep someone awake, consumed by a rising tide of panic they can't explain. These rituals seem irrational, but for the person doing them, they feel life-saving. The cruel part, the relief they offer is fleeting. The fear always returns, and often the next time the ritual must be bigger, longer, stricter. This isn't about perfectionism. It's about a brain desperately trying to impose order on a world that feels chaotic and unsafe. Number 3. When everything feels empty, imagine biting into your favorite dessert and it just tastes meh, or hearing huge news from a friend and feeling absolutely nothing. It's not that you're numb. It's that your joy switch just stopped working. This is called anhedonia. It's when the stuff that used to bring you happiness now barely registers. Normally, your brain rewards good moments with dopamine, that warm, this is nice chemical. But with anhedonia, the circuit shorted out. You might be at a party surrounded by laughter, but feel like you're on the outside looking in. There are 2 types: social anhedonia, where connecting with people feels hollow, and physical anhedonia, where even physical pleasures lose their edge. Anhedonia isn't a standalone illness. It's a glaring symptom, often of major depression, but also anxiety or long-term stress. When your brain is under constant pressure, joy becomes collateral damage. So if life starts to feel grayscale, if the good stuff stops feeling good, it's not about being lazy or ungrateful. It's your brain waving a red flag. Number 2. Stuck in the loop of, are you sure? Ever ask someone a question and then immediately feel the need to ask again, just to be really sure? That's not just seeking clarity. That's excessive reassurance seeking. It's like your brain has a low battery warning that only temporarily shuts off when someone else says, you're fine, you send a text. No reply. Instead of thinking, they're probably busy, your brain goes, they're mad. I messed up. So you ask, are you upset? They say no, relief for a few minutes, then the doubt creeps back, so you ask again and again. And again. People caught in this cycle don't need new answers, they need to feel certain, and that certainty is a slippery fish. Each answer brings a moment of calm, but it doesn't stick. It's like chasing a mirage. They might confess past mistakes just to hear it's okay, or endlessly research symptoms online, hoping to prove they don't have a serious illness. This isn't being needy. It's a compulsive feedback loop, often tied to anxiety or OCD, where reassurance becomes the only relief. But each time it's used, it strengthens the urge to seek it again. It's not a personality flaw. It's a brain caught in a maze of worry. Number 1. The torture of too many options. You've been there, staring at the Netflix screen for 40 minutes, paralyzed by too many options, or standing in front of the cereal shelf until a store employee starts side-eyeing you. This isn't indecision. This is decision paralysis, and it's brutal. You're at a restaurant. The waiter asks what you'd like. Your brain suddenly becomes a chaos computer. What if the chicken's bad? What if I regret not getting the pasta? What if the waiter thinks my choice is weird? People who experience decision paralysis aren't picky. They're overwhelmed. Every choice feels like a trap. They're holding out for a certainty that never arrives. Sometimes they freeze entirely, or let others decide everything. Big decisions, jobs, relationships, even moving, can be left hanging for months because their brain is terrified of choosing wrong. What if you pick the wrong career, the wrong partner, the wrong cereal? That anxiety response is so exaggerated, even basic choices feel like walking through a minefield. And guess what? Nearly 1 in 5 adults experience some form of anxiety disorder that can lead to this. If deciding what to eat takes more energy than running a marathon, it's not laziness, it's your brain locking up under pressure. That's it for today. If this resonated, you're not alone. Hit subscribe to catch the next one.